Hello, my doves. Today we're going to be talking about something sad, tragic almost. I watched this new Netflix show called Emily in Paris. Maybe you've heard of it. And it was an absolute waste of my time. Why did I watch this show, you may ask? Because I saw that it was created by Darren Star, who created Sex and the City and Beverly Hills 90210, and the costume design was by Patricia Fields, who also did Sex and the City and The Devil Wears Prada. But despite these accolades, it was just not great.
It's definitely a no for me, dog.
There's been like a ton of articles already on why Emily in Paris is a flop, especially from the perspective of French critics who accuse the show of being both like overly francophilic, is that a word? Like fetishizing France, as well as being kind of anti-France as well. And I don't really want to do a review on the actual show because I feel like there's been a ton of other better reviews already that really hit the nail on the head. If you haven't seen my friend Modern Girls' video on this subject, she does like a great review of the show overall. But yeah, I've just seen like a lot of content about that, and I feel like I couldn't introduce anything new on that front. But I will be talking today about the second most underwhelming thing after the plot, which are the outfits, specifically Emily's outfits. Look, I would not be critiquing the show if they didn't so obviously try to make waves on that front. Like, there's actually nothing about Emily's character that requires her to be a fashionista. She works at a PR firm. The people who work there are dressed well, and they do represent some luxury fashion brands, but she also works with other non-fashion brands. She's not like fully integrated into the industry, you know what I mean? And the thing with costume design is that the clothes don't actually have to look amazing. The characters don't all have to be like super well dressed. The clothes just have to reflect who the characters are, much like how clothes in real life reflect the people who wear them. But taking that into account, the clothes that Emily wears literally don't make any sense. Emily literally never talks about clothes. She doesn't seem to follow any designers. She even calls herself basic.
I just came here to apologize for the other day for offending you and to let you know that you're right. I am a basic bitch with a bag charm.
Sidebar, I don't think Emily's style is basic at all. I kind of wish it was basic because then at least it wouldn't be such an eye strain. When the agency was going after a luxury fashion brand, Pierre Cardin, which is fictional, she was no more interested in him than any other client. She actually had to look him up, despite the fact that he's supposed to be one of the biggest designers ever. So it doesn't really make sense for her to be wearing a decked out wardrobe full of designer clothes, right? Like, she's supposed to be this Midwestern girl who mainly works with pharmaceutical brands, and in the first episode, she's wearing Louboutins. If they wanted to go down the fashion route, they should have had her express more interest in fashion. Like, as we know, you don't have to work in the fashion industry to like fashion or to be stylish. But if you clearly show effort in how you dress and you have a wardrobe of designer clothing, I'm going to assume that you talk about fashion or at least go shopping more often than the average person who doesn't care about their personal style. Let's look at Carrie from Sex and the City. In the first season, she starts off working as a relationship columnist, but she has a shopping addiction and loves fashion. It's not super obvious at the beginning, but it's referenced every few episodes. So it would make sense that she dresses the way that she does.
Samantha headed back to her office, while I decided to investigate this theory I had about shopping as a way to unleash the creative subconscious. I couldn't believe it. It was the turtle wearing Helmut Lang.
This one's on sale, half off.
Sweetie, I just spent $395 on a pair of open-toed Gucci's last week. This is not the place to be frugal.
All right.
They could have also gone the route where Emily becomes more interested in fashion after moving to Paris and working with luxury fashion brands, and then having her wardrobe develop to reflect that. This is what they did with The Devil Wears Prada, and it worked. Andy didn't care about the fashion industry, didn't understand the importance of fashion.
You think my clothes are hideous, I get it, but, you know, I'm not going to be in fashion forever, so I don't really see the point of changing everything about myself just because I have this job.
And then slowly started taking her work seriously, and in that process became more invested in the industry. But the difference with Emily in Paris is that Emily's entire problem revolves around Parisians being mean to her and her not being open to the cultural differences. But as for career development, she loves working in PR from the beginning. She doesn't find any difficulty in coming up with campaign ideas or getting deals with new clients. Most of her problems stem from her relationship with Sylvie, who is our French Miranda Priestley character. And Sylvie says that her problem with Emily is Emily's lack of polish and her American non-luxury marketing tactics that prioritize inclusivity over exclusivity.
You come to Paris. You walk into my office. You don't even bother to learn the language. You treat the city like it's your amusement park. And after a year of food, sex, wine, and maybe some culture, you'll go back from where you came.
She scoffs at Emily's clothing, but there's no implication whatsoever that she wants to change Emily or work with her. She just wants Emily out of the country as quickly as possible, and honestly, who can blame her?
Your language is seriously effed up.
I feel like Miranda, by contrast, never held this long-standing personal grudge against Andy. She doesn't care about the people who work for her as much as she wants things to get done. Her ordeal is that if Andy can't do it, then there's a million other girls who would kill to have her job.
Quit. I can get another girl to take your job in 5 minutes. One who really wants it.
No, I don't want to quit. That's not fair.
What is it that you want me to say to you, huh? Do you want me to say, poor you? Miranda's picking on you. Poor you, poor Andy. Wake up, 6. She's just doing her job.
Andy is then the one who goes through the changes. She's the one who changes her attitude, changes her interests, realizes things, etc. Emily doesn't do anything. Emily doesn't realize anything. Emily gets her way all the time. Everything she suggests is a hit. It's her coworkers who are all wrong and who come around to her. In regards to her relationship with Sylvie, she just continues doing whatever she's doing, and Sylvie starts to slowly like her because Emily is good at her job, not because she's become more likable. The show comes off as very self-righteous and US-centric, even from the characters who are not even American.
I mean, they can't all be mean. Oh, yes, they can. Chinese people are mean behind your back. French people, mean to your face.
We as an audience are supposed to side with Emily to a certain extent. Like, we're supposed to feel bad for her. We're supposed to agree with her. Like, the French people that she works with are so mean. Like, she's great or whatever. I mean, you could make the argument that Emily is supposed to be this, like, very annoying, stereotypical American, but if the writers purposely tried to convey that, you would think that they would have her grow more over the course of the series so that, you know, she reflects on herself and thinks, oh, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe this is a cultural thing, or maybe I have to compromise to get along with everyone and to participate in this culture.
Look, I want to be part of the solution, not create problems.
Well, then you should listen more and talk less.
Like, I can't really grasp what Emily is supposed to go through over the course of the series in terms of personal development. She wanted to go to Paris. It wasn't like she had to, and she wants people to accept her, but it's always on her terms. She starts off being good at her job. The only conflicts that she really faces are relationship-based, I guess, but you would think that in 2020 we can have more sustenance in our female-driven shows than just relationship drama.
How does it happen that 4 such smart women have nothing to talk about but boyfriends? It's like 7th grade with bank accounts. What about us? What we think, we feel, we know, Christ. Does it always have to be about them? Just, you know, give me a call when you're ready to talk about something besides men for a change.
Anyways, this was a tangent. I just wanted to say that The Devil Wears Prada made so much more sense in terms of Andy's outfits. For Emily, nothing about her wardrobe makes sense for her character. I even tried to determine whether there was a style progression from the first episode to the last, and there really wasn't. She had maybe 1 or 2 good looks throughout the entire show, but they were at random points. It wasn't like she just got better at styling herself. Actually, you know what? That might make sense for her character. Emily doesn't change over the course of the series, so why should her style? Another thing is, how is Emily affording any of her clothes? I don't know too much about Parisian apartment pricing, but she doesn't seem like she's living in a super deluxe apartment.
Chambre de, it means the room for the housekeeper. The top 2 floors were typically reserved for the servants.
You heard all that from the bathroom? These walls are made of straw and horsehair. It'd be harder not to listen.
I also looked up the salary of the average marketing manager in Paris, and the salary is 53,000 euros. Now, I don't know Emily's job title exactly. Like, I know that there are high and low ends to these salaries as well, but I'm just trying to figure out how she can be so young in the industry and still be making money to buy Louboutins and Chanel bags. Because she's also hinted at coming from a humble background, I just don't think she has generational wealth either.
Get your dad's lawyers involved.
My dad doesn't have a lawyer. He breeds Weimaraners. But the only thing we could afford from any of those designers was a clip-on bag charm from a outlet mall in Winnetka. So...
At least in The Devil Wears Prada, Andy gets her designer clothes once her coworker hooks her up. In Sex and the City, it was kind of obscure how much money Carrie was making from her job, and people did criticize it. But even if relationship columnists don't actually make that much money, it just seemed less unbelievable because Carrie was in her mid-30s, she was relatively well-known in New York, and she was surrounded by established and successful friends.
Look, I'm not sure you understand, but I'm kind of somebody, and she's definitely kind of somebody.
It's also kind of confusing to ascertain whether or not Emily is supposed to be dressed badly objectively, because she is wearing all this designer, but the characters do acknowledge that they don't like what she's wearing.
Any tips on what to wear?
Not that.
I'm not sure if the show is trying to say that French people are boring and singular with their style, and Emily is like super avant-garde and experimental in comparison, or if we're supposed to laugh at Emily and what she's wearing. But regardless of whether we're supposed to like or dislike Emily's wardrobe, I feel like the show was more leaning towards creating these statement memorable outfits that would spark conversation rather than designing a wardrobe that makes sense for Emily. Take, for instance, the Louboutins. Emily is an optimistic workaholic go-getter.
But I enjoy work and accomplishment. It makes me happy.
Work makes you happy?
Yes, I mean, it's why I'm here. For work.
Yet she walks down cobbled Paris streets in Louboutins. It just doesn't make sense for her to think so pragmatically and work so efficiently, only to wear clothes that wouldn't be very convenient for work. The other problem is that if the show purposely wanted to create these statement looks, they failed in that aspect as well. I feel like the outfits didn't really spark much conversation aside from people like me who analyze all the fashion, but I wouldn't say that the show made any impact on mainstream fashion like Sex and the City did, for instance. This is because the show doesn't create anything new. Everything is just a tribute or poorly done version of something that already exists. The final Pierre Cadault show is a tribute to the Viktor and Rolf Spring-Summer 2019 collection that got a lot of press. Emily's outfits seem to be a knockoff Blair Waldorf outfit. She even admits to being obsessed with Gossip Girl.
Do you want to know why I got that bag charm? Because my friends and I were obsessed with Gossip Girl. We all wanted to be Serena van der Woodsen.
And I don't know if it's supposed to be relatable in the sense that like Gen Z and millennial audiences now tend to, get inspiration, style inspiration from influencers, celebrities, and TV shows. But in the end, it's not very relatable because once again, she's wearing super expensive clothing. Speaking as a millennial / Gen Zer, if I wasn't into vintage shopping, where would I find an affordable Blair Waldorf-esque cord set? UrbanOutfitters.com. We could cut the show some slack and say, oh, it's more of a social commentary than anything else. Like Emily being an influencer and going to these influencer events filled with vapid, self-serving people. The whole phenomenon of streetwear collaborating with established high fashion brands was clearly referenced as well. But again, nothing in Emily in Paris is fully baked. It's all very surface level. Even the way she gains followers just isn't reflective of the Instagram landscape these days. Maybe in like 2012 it was, but not today. And I just think it's weird that the show takes this anti-influencer stance, even though they made their main character an influencer. I guess this is a rewrite of the "not other girls" annoying tagline now it's just not like other influencers. They also had the opportunity to talk about exploitation from the influencer point of view, and they just completely glossed over it. You can say what you want to say about influencers. I'm sure it's warranted most of the time, but it was a missed opportunity to gloss over the fact that many companies exploit young people for free advertising. Like, Emily just provides free advertising at this PR event, and the only critique comes from Sylvie, who says it's a conflict of interest for their clients. With that said, if they were trying to make the show representative or even a satire of today's fashion, they should have, 1, integrated better and more relevant social commentary to show that Emily is a reflection of today's society, and 2, they should have just had her wear clothes that like actually appeal to millennials, not these crazy outfits that no one wears. From my understanding, Emily was supposed to be a relatable character. She's not like the cool Instagram girls. She becomes popular online out of chance, and she's just trying to figure herself out, make new friends like the rest of us millennials. It was really a wasted opportunity, in my opinion. The magic of the fashion in Sex and the City is how groundbreaking and fresh the outfits were while still keeping up with the silhouettes and the kind of accessorizing popular in the late 90s/early 2000s. Also, Carrie's style is very cohesive. Her Fendi baguette bag was a huge trend of the time, for instance, because it was a signature look in the show. Emily has no signature look in the show. It's all very random. The mismatched patterns, the occasional streetwear elements, the random Audrey Hepburn tribute. What is going on? Her style is just not cohesive. It's like she's overwhelmed by everything that the algorithm pushes towards her, and she just buys everything. I mean, let's take a quick look at some of the outfits. I don't want to comment on every single one because a lot of the problems I have cover the majority of them. For instance, as I said before, the insane pattern mismatching. I'm not saying it can't be done tastefully, but it's just overwhelming in Emily's case. The colors are either slightly off, that they clash. Often there are too many colors in one outfit that it just looks chaotic and not in the avant-garde way. Another major trend for her is her hats. Let's be honest, it's mainly her hats that de-elevate the look from, okay, not great, to, did she get dressed in the dark? At the end of the day, if Emily was a different character, this wardrobe would make sense. Some people have compared her outfits to Harper from Wizards of Waverly Place, and Harper is chaotically dressed, but it makes sense for her character. She's a chaotic character. Emily seems to always have everything together, and when things don't go her way, she is unrealistically chill. She's just very neutral about everything, so a muted, toned-down business professional wardrobe would make so much more sense for her character. Anyways, I didn't figure out a way to properly segue to the end, but this is the end, and rant finally over. I do adore Patricia Field's work in general, like, don't get me wrong, I just was super underwhelmed and honestly disappointed by what Emily in Paris produced. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, and I'll see you in my future video.